At the second chance table. The restaurant was too fancy for heartbreak. Maya sat alone at a corner table, the flickering candlelight illuminating her carefully applied makeup, the kind you wear when you're trying to convince yourself you're ready to move on. Her blind date was 43 minutes late. She'd already checked her phone 16 times, each glance chipping away another piece of her carefully reconstructed confidence. Another water miss? The waiter's sympathetic smile told her everything. He'd seen this before. Actually, I think I'll just... Maya? She froze. That voice. The voice that once whispered promises and later excuses. She looked up slowly, praying she was wrong. She wasn't. Brandon stood there with his new girlfriend, draped on his arm, like an expensive accessory. The same Brandon who'd ghosted her 6 months ago after 3 years together. The same Brandon who'd emptied their joint savings account and moved to find himself, apparently, in the arms of an Instagram model. Wow, eating alone on a Saturday night. Brandon's smile was sharp enough to cut. That's sad. His girlfriend giggled, the sound like breaking glass. Maya's throat tightened. The restaurant suddenly felt airless. She'd worked so hard to get here, to the point where she could consider dating again, where she could put herself out there despite the fear. And here was her past, mocking her present. I'm actually waiting for someone, she managed, hating how small her voice sounded. Sure you are. Brandon smirked. Come on, Tiffany. I don't want our evening ruined by... You're in my seat. The voice was quiet, but carried the weight of absolute authority. Maya looked up to see a man in an impeccably tailored charcoal suit standing behind Brandon. He was tall, with dark hair touched with silver at the temples and eyes that could freeze fire. Everything about him screamed power, from his platinum watch to the way 3 servers immediately straightened their posture when they noticed him. Excuse me? Brandon scoffed, turning. Buddy, there are plenty of... He stopped mid-sentence. The color drained from his face. Mr. Castellano, Brandon whispered. The man, Castellano, didn't acknowledge him. He moved around Brandon like he was furniture and extended his hand to Maya. I apologize for being late. Traffic was impossible. Maya stared at him, completely confused. She'd never seen this man in her life. His eyes met hers, and she saw something unexpected. Kindness, mixed with an unspoken plea. Play along, they seemed to say. It's fine, she heard herself say, taking his hand. It was warm, steady. Castellano pulled out her chair slightly, a gesture for her to remain seated, then turned to Brandon. When he spoke, his voice was conversational, but something dangerous lurked underneath. You're still in my seat. We were just leaving, Brandon stammered. I didn't know you were... We didn't mean to. You didn't mean to humiliate a woman who's done nothing to you? Castellano tilted his head slightly. Strange. It looked quite intentional. Tiffany tugged at Brandon's sleeve, her confidence evaporating. Babe, let's just go. Smart girl, Castellano said without looking at her. His gaze remained fixed on Brandon. You work at Brennan and Associates, correct? Junior partner? Brandon nodded, his face now pale. Brennan is a friend of mine. We play golf every Thursday. Castellano adjusted his cufflink casually. I wonder what he'd think about his junior partners harassing women in restaurants. His daughter was bullied quite severely in college. He's sensitive about such things. Mr. Castellano, please, Leave. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Brandon and Tiffany practically ran for the exit. Maya sat frozen, watching them disappear. Slowly, she turned to face her mysterious rescuer, who was now calmly taking the seat across from her. You didn't have to do that, she said quietly. I know. He signaled the waiter. But I wanted to. I'm Dominic, by the way, though you probably gathered that. Maya. She studied him. This stranger who'd just turned her worst moment into something else entirely. Why? Dominic was quiet for a moment, his fingers drumming once on the table. 3 years ago, my sister was stood up on a blind date. Her ex showed up with his new fiancé and made sure everyone in the restaurant knew she'd been dumped. She called me from the bathroom, crying so hard she could barely breathe. His jaw tightened. I was in Tokyo. I couldn't get to her. She stopped dating for 2 years after that. Maya felt her eyes sting. I'm sorry. Don't be. She's married now, happy. He smiled, and it transformed his entire face. But when I walked in tonight and saw that man berating you, saw that look on your face, I saw my sister. And this time I could do something about it. The waiter appeared. Mr. Castellano, your usual table is being prepared. Should I? We're fine here, Marco. Thank you. Dominic glanced at Maya. Unless you'd prefer to leave. She should leave. This was insane. She didn't know this man. And he was clearly someone important, possibly dangerous. Given how Brandon had reacted, the smart thing would be to thank him and go home. But when was the last time she'd done the smart thing? Actually, I'm starving, she said. My date stood me up and I've been too stubborn to eat. Dominic's laugh was genuine, warm. Then let's fix that. Marco, the lady needs food immediately. Over the next 2 hours, Maya discovered that Dominic Castellano was not what she expected. Yes, he ran a business empire, import-export. Mostly legitimate, he assured her with a wry smile that suggested a complicated past. Yes, people feared him, but he was also funny, surprisingly humble about his success, and passionate about his family. You have 7 siblings? Maya asked, incredulous. Italian family. We breed like rabbits. He grinned. And before you ask, yes, Sunday dinners are mandatory and chaotic. My mother once threw a wooden spoon at my head for being late. Did she miss? Unfortunately, no. Maya laughed, really laughed for the first time in months. She told him about her work as a pediatric nurse, about the 3-year-old who'd drawn her a picture of a brave dragon last week. She told him about Brandon, about the betrayal and the long climb back to believing she deserved better. You do, Dominic said simply. Deserve better, I mean. That man was a fool. You don't know me. I know you stayed for 43 minutes waiting for someone who didn't respect you enough to send a text. That's loyal. I know you stood up to your ex even when you were scared. That's brave. And I know you took a chance on having dinner with a strange man who crashed your table. That's either very trusting or very hungry. Definitely hungry, she said, but she was smiling. As the evening wound down, Dominic insisted on paying despite her protests. You can get the next one, he said, then paused. If you'd like there to be a next one. No pressure. But I'd really like to see you again, Maya. She should say no. This was too much, too fast, too strange. Yes, she said instead. I'd like that. Outside the restaurant, as Dominic waited with her for a taxi, Maya finally asked the question that had been nagging at her. Why did Brandon react to your name like that? Who are you really? Dominic was quiet for a moment. I'm someone who built a life from nothing, who made choices I'm not always proud of, but who tries every day to be better than he was. I'm someone who protects the people he cares about, sometimes in ways that aren't entirely conventional. He met her eyes. I'm just a man. Maya. A man who'd like the chance to take you to dinner. Properly. Maybe somewhere less dramatic next time. A taxi pulled up. Before she got in, Maya did something impulsive. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed his cheek. Thank you, Dominic. For tonight. For seeing me. His hand came up to where her lips had touched, and for a moment the powerful, intimidating man looked almost vulnerable. The pleasure was entirely mine. As the taxi pulled away, Maya looked back to see him standing under the streetlight. Hands in his pockets, watching her leave. She pulled out her phone and found a new message from her friend Julie, the one who'd set up the disastrous blind date. I'm so sorry. Greg got food poisoning. Are you okay? Maya smiled and typed back, better than okay. I'll explain tomorrow. She didn't tell Julie that she'd met someone. She didn't mention the ex or the dramatic confrontation. Some things were too new, too precious to share yet. But as the city lights blurred past her window, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Not because a man had rescued her, she'd been saving herself long before Dominic Castellano walked into that restaurant, but because someone had seen her struggling and chosen kindness. Because in a moment when she felt small and humiliated, someone had reminded her of her worth. And maybe, just maybe, because sometimes the universe puts you at the wrong table with the wrong person. so you can meet the right one. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. Next Saturday. I promise to be on time. Maya's smile could have lit up the entire taxi. She typed back, "You better be. I know people." His response was immediate. "So do I, but mine are scarier." Laughing, Maya put her phone away and watched the city roll by. Somewhere behind her, Brandon was probably panicking about his job. Her blind date was probably still sick in his bathroom. And somewhere ahead, Dominic Castellano was probably already planning their next date. But right now, in this moment, Maya was exactly where she needed to be, moving forward, leaving the past behind. And finally, ready to see what came next. Sometimes the best second chances come from the most unexpected places. And sometimes the right person shows up exactly when you need them most, even if they're a little bit dangerous and wearing a really expensive suit.